Welcome to session 4 of the social media safety expert series. I'm Dr. Mary Jo Creel. I'm here tonight to talk about identifying and addressing online dangers. So today, we're really going to hit on the major dangers of online social media use. So your predators, your cyberbulliers, and your scams, your top 3 dangers that you can encounter online. All right, so the reason we're all here tonight is, what are some strategies? We know these dangers exist. We know it's real from the statistics. We know kind of what privacy settings can avoid these dangers, but what other things can we do to help address these dangers? So these are the dangers that are the strategies that will keep coming up with each section that we do. We will be talking about predators in one section, cyberbulliers, and scams. So in each of these, I'll have examples of how to use these strategies. But these strategies right here are the ones that will work for all of them. You can implement them with addressing all of these dangers that we're talking about today. So first, those privacy settings. We're not going to go back over those. If you want that recording, it's posted somewhere online for you. You have the presentation, but that's the first strategy. Before we can do anything else, use those privacy settings. The second one is to practice these in a safe place with example messages, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Blocking and reporting is huge. We will be talking about that. Teaching and your self-learning. If you are the user yourself for social media, learning what are the behaviors of predators, cyberbullies, scams. And if I can identify those predators, I can identify them quickly without getting into a danger, and I can easily block and report. Using visuals and visual checklists. I have a few examples of those that we'll go through. And the last one is to have a top 3 trusted network. So I will talk about those briefly, and then I'm going to give examples in the dangers areas that we'll be going through. Okay, so when I talk about using visuals, it really means capturing a visual that shows the danger that we can talk about. So when I used to teach, we will be talking a little bit tonight about what a poser and a catfisher is, because that comes in with the world of predators. So when I first started teaching what catfishers and posers are, it's really hard to differentiate between that and a predator because they are 2 different things. So I found these visuals to help use this or help teach the definitions of these things and what these dangers do. So for one example there, we have a guy who's pulling money out of the girl's pocket. He's given her a ring. He's hidden behind a little hood over his eyes. So she thinks that he's promising him some kind of love, but really he's trying to take her money. And he's doing things secretly for his own personal gain. So he's a poser. He could be a catfisher if he meets her in person. But so we would use that visual to talk about, what is a poser doing here? What's his gain? What's he trying to do to her? How does she look? What's her emotions? So I will show you more about how you can use these visuals, but highly effective in really identifying what are the behaviors of these predators, cyberbulliers, and scammers. All right. The next strategy, using visual checklists. This was actually part of my dissertation study that I developed this myself and tested it out with 8 young adults with, all of them had Down syndrome and were in my digital literacy class. And they used this to look at messages that were sent to them on social media platforms. And so this checklist was to show them, I shouldn't respond to this person, or I should respond to this person. So I'll talk about how to use this visual checklist when we get into the predator stuff. But this checklist is something they would go through and they would know, hey, I have something checked on the stop portion of it. This is dangerous. I shouldn't reply, and I need to go talk to someone before I reply to it. So we'll talk about the impact that had on a few of my students when they started using that. All right. And I have tons of visual checklists. They're just not released to the public yet because I'm still working through finalizing and testing them out with some students that I work with. But I do have ones for scams and cyberbulliers coming out soon, I hope. All right. The other one is the other strategy, creating safe opportunities to practice. In your Google folder, there is a template, the PowerPoint templates that are in the chat. The templates there are to make your own safe place to practice messages. So on these things, I'll show you an example. They look like this. Each slide is a different message. And what I would do is I'd go through these messages and we talk about it. Is this a cyberbully? Is it not a cyberbully? Why or why not? And what would you do if somebody sent this message to you? So when we do this in a safe place, we can make a mistake without it harming us. So I can read the thing that says, stop coming to school, you're annoying me, or I'm going to hurt you if you come to school. And it is a message that isn't personally sent to me. I don't have to reply to it. I can talk about this. It can be anyone who got this message. So we talk about it in the safe place, but when it's sent to me online, I know how to respond to it because I have practice talking about how I can respond to something that comes like this. Maybe I go talk to somebody about it, but we'll talk a little more about that when we get into this. But these safe places of doing this sort of thing, this practice, not in an online setting, is very, very important because you can make mistakes and it won't cause immediate harm. Whereas if I make a mistake and start talking to a predator online, the harm is already done. If I click that link to a scam, they already have my data. But if I practice it in a safe place, I can make a mistake and it won't steal my data because it's not online. So practicing it in a real place where we can just say, oh, whoops, okay, that is a cyberbully. Maybe I shouldn't reply, or maybe I shouldn't say that. Versus one and done is what I like to call it. When you're online, you make one mistake and it's done. You made the mistake and harm has been done. Okay, the next one is the top 3 trusted. This is actually like one of my favorite strategies. So a top 3 trusted means we have 3 people. I actually personally myself have a top 3 trusted network. So a top 3 trusted, we have 3 people we feel safe going to, talking about something that happens online. So if somebody sends me a mean message, it really bothers me. It makes me feel scared to go to work, scared to go to school. And I feel like I can't talk about it with anyone because retributions. The person told me, you tell somebody, I will hurt you, or this happens, I will hurt you. So a top 3 trusted means you have 3 people you feel very safe going to and showing them this. Okay, hey, I got this message. They told me not to tell anyone, but I feel safe talking to you about it. So the purpose of having 3 different people in this network is if something happens and so my first person is out of town or gone, I can go to the second person. If the second person's not there, I can go to the third person. I have backup for when I need to talk to somebody about something that happens online and is a danger or bothers me. The other reason we have a top 3 is in different instances, you might feel safer talking to your number 2 versus your number 1. So I worked with a young adult who was cyberbullied, and they didn't feel safe talking to their first one, which was their sister, because the sister, went to the school the cyberbully was from. So she ended up going to, I think it was her preacher. She went to her preacher and talked to them because she felt safe with them. and then eventually went back to her sister and talked to her. But she had a choice. Who can I talk to about this? Who do I feel really safe talking to about in this situation? About talking about this with them. So the top 3 gives different options. For young adults, the older ones, they might have a caregiver they go to, or they might have a family member. The younger adults, I would always stress you still need to have your parent in that top 3. You might be scared to say, hey, this is happening online. They might not know this is happening online, but there is these 3 other people we can go to. Let's talk predators. This is going to be a huge chunk of tonight because this is the hardest one to identify. Oh, you don't hear him? Oh, good, because he's in the hallway barking at my door. I'm glad. Woo. So this is the biggest one. It's the most dangerous, and it's the hardest to identify, especially if we're trying to make online friends. Okay, so with predators, I have a little case study here that we're going to work through, and that I have used in the past for teaching what predators are to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So these little messages here are actually really cool because it's from a website that you'll see later on where you can go and make your own educational posts and messages to practice with. So there's actually a website where you can go in, create a mock fake chat to go and practice. You can print it off, save it, put it on slides. It's really cool. It's a new thing that I just found out about, and you'll see it later on. So this is actually a true story with the young adult that I worked with. His family came to me, and what happened is he was on Facebook, and he's always engaged with the local news channel, especially about the weather that's coming. And so from that, a stranger got a hold of him and messaged him. So they found him through the comments, went to his page, sent him a message. And so the first message said, hey, you seem cool. Do you want to chat? I want to be your friend. And this young adult said, hey, yeah, I want a friend. Let's talk. So they started chatting back and forth and having a great time. This person gained his trust. But the Sammy 123 ended up saying, hey, 3 weeks in, I want you to send me a picture of you without clothes on. And if you don't do it, I'm going to tell everyone the secrets you've already told me. And this actually happened. This was a young adult that I worked with. So we didn't catch it in time because the young adult wasn't sharing things with us yet and didn't know the importance of sharing things like this with a network. So he ended up sending the pictures, and the pictures went online. The person didn't, obviously was just out to ruin his reputation. And so the young adult ended up getting banned from Facebook because of this. He's engaged in what they called pornography, and so they banned him, but he was manipulated into this from predator. So with that, the parents came to me and they said, hey, you need to teach him what a predator is. We want him to connect with people online, but this really harmed him and he's terrified of being online now. So we had to work through this, and we had to really say, okay, let's look at these messages. Where is the point where we should have noticed, hey, this is probably somebody I shouldn't talk to? Or what would have happened if I didn't send him those pictures? Would he really tell me my secrets online? What secrets did I tell him? So we had to work through that. But the purpose of showing these things is we can share messages like this. And this young adult said, yes, I want you to talk about this because it terrified me and I don't want anyone else to go through it. So we can show these messages and say, okay, just look at these 2 things. Is Sammy a predator? And what should Teddy do in this situation if this was sent to him? Before he replies, before he sends anything. So that's my first case study that we'll work through as we go through this to show how can we support Teddy. If I am the person using the social media, and this happens to me. How can I support myself and address this? All right, then I have another one. This is another real situation that was actually shared to me at a conference, and they gave me permission to share about this. And what happened was there was a young adult. She wanted to have a boyfriend and wanted to date online. So she had this young male, he said he was a young male, message her and say, hey, you're beautiful. You seem cool. Will you be my girlfriend? And so she's like, yes, yeah, I want a boyfriend. Let's date online. So they started having a relationship through this platform they were on. And one day she has a bad day, really bad day. Everything goes wrong. Work goes wrong. She's fighting with her parents. And she ends up texting this guy that she has developed a relationship with and says she has the worst day ever and tells him about it. And so he says, well, let's meet up at the local shopping mall and I will make you feel better. However, you can't tell anybody about me. You can't say that you're meeting me. It's all a secret. So this ended up being interrupted in time. She was about to head out. However, she was lucky that her mother came and saw what was happening. And they didn't follow up. We don't know what would have happened had she would have gone. But this too shows predator behavior. He wants to be friendly with her. He wants to groom her a little bit and then says, hey, let's meet, but don't tell anybody. He's very secretive. So talking about how messages look when predators send things is really important. That's secretive. So these are two little messages, Teddy and Sarah, and we're going to talk about if this happened to maybe us or someone else we know or someone we're working with, what can we do? How can we prevent things from Sarah heading out the door and going to the mall, meeting this person and not knowing what would happen? How could we help Teddy not send those pictures? And how do we notice if things are like this are happening without being really intrusive and monitoring? Because we shouldn't be. We should allow some independence. All right. So, but you have seen two messages and you probably know a little basic information about what predators are. However, as society develops and these things become more widely, there's more and more out there on the internet. We now face things like predators, posers, catfishers, and we don't know what else is next because every day there's something new online. But the difference between predators, posers, and catfishers is predators, if we look at it in categories, predators are the worst of them all. So predators are people who are trying to deceive somebody and trick them into doing things that would be considered a crime. They're trying to commit some kind of crime. So whether that is sex trafficking, engaging in child pornography, or just pornography with adults, sometimes sexual abuse online, that does happen, are just doing things without consent. So online predators are all about the sexual nature. They want to commit some kind of sexual crime. And there's different types. This Techno FAQ shows the different types of predators and what they would do based on the type they are. I thought that was important to show because there are different types. They look for different things. Sex offenders might look for something versus pornographers just want the videos and pictures. Versus sex offenders want to meet in person, or they might not. They might just more engage in more explicit online relationships. So those are the different types of predators. All of them are dangerous. And again, all are usually sexual in nature. And then posers and catfishers are different. Posers and catfishers aren't really there to get the sexual aspects of it like the predators. So posers and catfishers are there to either gain money from you, embarrass you. A lot of catfishes are about that embarrassment. You show up and they're not there, or they aren't who they say they are. They try to take personal information. They might use it to commit fraud, sell it online, or even just gain items for themselves. We want your credit card information. I'm going to go buy myself a big old pair of skis to go skiing this winter, something like that. So that's the difference. Posers they're never going to say who they really are. They're pretending to be somebody, and they never actually meet you in person. They're just posing behind a screen, trying to get something through the screen for you. Catfishers actually want you to meet them in person, and they are a different person, or they just don't show up. They do the ghosting is what they call it. They ghost you. So catfishers, they're not who they say they are, and they try to get you to meet in person. So that's the difference between those. A lot of them are scammers. And again, those catfishers are really all about embarrassing the person. If you ever want to learn more about catfishers and posers and the difference, I really recommend, this is an old school show, MTV Catfish is really, really good at teaching what these people do and the behaviors behind what they do. I've actually used quite a few episodes of that in teaching what catfishers are, the emotions that happen behind it when you are catfished yourself, and how you can deal with that. Because now with dating online, there's tons of catfishing going on. So that's the other one is How to Catch a Predator. That's a good one too. Gets to be very emotional and graphic. So little warnings before you do that one, but MTV Catfisher isn't as bad. Okay, so 3 different kinds of things. They all fall into this predatory net of people online that are trying to commit some kind of crime or gain something from you. Okay, so how do we address these? How do we identify the behaviors of these people? And how do we teach what this is and prevent this from happening? So I always say, first thing first, we have to teach the behaviors. And on this slide, I have tons of behaviors of predators. So this is catfishers and posers too. They do all of this. And this is proven by research through the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They have predator behaviors, and this is where that all came from. But the biggest things to know, I mean, tons of these are the behaviors. So they quickly try to be your friend. They'll ask you tons of personal information and never tell you anything about themselves. But if I say, I'm like, oh, this is a huge list that is going to be hard to remember. I can't sit there and teach a class and remember all 15 of these characteristics of predators. So I have highlighted in red the important ones we have to teach and we have to know. The first one is predators, posers, and catfishers. Well, the catfishers are pretty smart, but most of them will not post anywhere publicly on social media. They will only send private messages. If they do post publicly, it's all fake stuff. It's all things they have stolen from somebody else's pages. So when somebody gets hacked and the person takes over their profile, sometimes it is someone trying to be a predator using their information to make a predatory page. So these predators and catfishers and posers, usually they don't post online. They're just sending those messages. And the biggest one about all of these is that it's secretive. They don't want anyone to tell you about them. So I always say, if you don't remember any of this, if anybody ever says the word secret and some kind of message to you, you need to stop. You need to stop and think. So all of these are behaviors, but the biggest one is secret. Then we need to stop communication and talk about it with somebody, or just block and report them. The other big one that when I'm helping young adults date online, they always are quick to give them their phone number and say, let's chat via phone, via FaceTime. That's what these people want. They don't want to stay in the app because the app gives you privacy settings on closing out and blocking them forever so they can't contact you. However, once you give them your personal number, they have access to your phone forever. But you can block them on your phone. It's just a little more secure when you do it within an app. So I always say, if they ever never show you their face or FaceTime with or video chat with you within an app, there's something you need to think about. So don't meet anywhere with anyone until you've actually seen their face. However, there's this coming up at the end, artificial intelligence is making this harder. And I'm actually working on how you can address and identify if somebody's talking to you with an AI picture. So the biggest trend on social media right now is to go to a website and get an AI picture of yourself. And if you haven't seen it, if you're not on social media yourself, these AI pictures are pretty creepy. They're very realistic. And so you could put a picture of yourself in it and you look like yourself, but different. So people are using these AI websites to create videos that they can put in a video chat to make it look like a real person. They're using it to post pictures online to make it look like a real person. So we're getting a little harder, but again, all AI and everything, if anything secretive is said, keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone about me. That's where we have to stop. So we really, really need to pay attention to those secret things. Oh, I don't want my friend to know about you or your friend to know about me. Don't tell anyone. Yeah, we need to stop. Okay. So when we go back to Teddy's picture, Teddy has, we know this is a predator, or this is Sammy. Yeah, Teddy's story. We know Sammy's a predator here because he's saying, don't tell anyone about me. Well, no, he's not. That's the next one. Just kidding. I need coffee. So Sammy is saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. So when people say things like that, they're giving this ultimatum. Oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to tell everybody your secrets. So this is a little different predator behavior. This guy is trying to gain more of a more of a personal fulfillment of embarrassing somebody. So with this, we know he can either be a predator, a poser. He's probably not going to meet Teddy in line or in person. But we know that he is someone because he's trying to embarrass Teddy. He's trying to say, I'm going to tell everyone your secrets. So that's another predator behavior. And then with Sarah, a little easier to identify with Sarah. So if you could see with Teddy, it's harder because that could almost be cyberbullying. So Teddy's situation could almost be cyberbullying. I'm going to make you do this, or I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to embarrass you. But Teddy falls in the predator line because one, it's sexual in nature, and two, it's a stranger he doesn't know that wanted his pictures for personal use. So he was engaging in pornography, which makes it not so much cyberbully, more predator behavior. So a lot of this comes together and makes it really difficult in trying to identify. So if you remember the basic characteristics and behaviors of these, you can really talk about which one is which. So for Sarah, Trevor here, he says, you can't tell anyone, and he capitalizes anyone, about me, and says, will you do that? So he makes her agree before they do anything else. So he's very secretive. He is looking for, I would hate to know what would have happened to her had she had gone. But he's very secretive, and he could have been someone that would have been engaging in sex trafficking or something like that. So that is an easier one to identify. All right, so let's talk about some of the strategies we can use for predators. So the behaviors are, again, secretive, sexual in nature, trying to humiliate, embarrass you, or gain something from you. So when you're teaching these, it can get very complicated to say, okay, what is a poser and a catfish? What is a predator? Why can't we just say they're all predators, right? The difference is there are different things. Predators are worse than posers and catfishers. They're all bad, but predators tend to do more damage. So I use these pictures. They're ones that I've gotten off of Google. I'm developing my own pictures to be a little more clear, but I've used these ones. And so the one with the girl, I always talk about posers and catfishers with. So first we look at these visuals and we say, okay, what's in this picture? Tell me what's happening. What do you see? Oh yeah, you can't see the guy's eyes. Yeah, he's taking money from her. He's giving her an engagement ring. She looks happy. He's coming out of a computer. And just talk about that image for a while. And then we'll be like, okay, so what do you think is really happening there? Do you think she knows who he is? Well, maybe, yeah. Well, if you're hidden, this guy's hiding his eyes. If you're hidden, do you know somebody's there? Well, no, we don't know who he is. He's hiding himself. And then he's promising her something, but taking something from her. It could look like he's handing her money. That's why I really don't like this picture 100%, but it does look like he could be giving her money too. So talking about this is a poser. He's hidden. He's trying to take something and offer you something, but he might not be really meaning that. He might not want to marry this girl. He's just saying it to get her money. And that could fall in the line of scammers too. They can be the same kind of thing. The predator one, we have a guy coming out of the computer. He's telling her to be quiet, covering her mouth so she doesn't talk. And she looks scared, confused, and it looks like a scary situation. So talking about the predators are always, let's be secret about it. Don't tell anyone. They're scary. The person might be scared. So talking about these images really helps say these are the behaviors and this is what we need to look for. If this happens, this is what we need to do. So these are ones, again, these are ones I've gotten from Google. I'm developing, actually working with a graduate assistant to develop better pictures because some of these aren't as clear, don't give a clear-cut definition of it, but these are the basic ones that I've been using so far. So you can use those. Eventually when my website's released, we'll have the new images. All right, so using visual checklists, this one I've talked a little bit about at the beginning. This one I have seen taken from the, I had a girl that had an incident happen online. She was terrified of social media dangers, didn't want to be on it. And it was kind of like a Teddy situation. And she started using this visual checklist. And at the end, she says, I love this. I feel safe online now. I'm not scared. I have this down. I know what this is. So this is a little checklist. You have access to it in the folder. It is one where you can use it all on one sheet. You can fold it. So stop is on one side, go is on one side. I just used it on a piece of paper altogether. So this is a checklist where they would start with the check boxes in the stops portion, and they would go down it. If nothing's checked there, they go through the go portion and do it again. The reason of repeating it is just to get it into the memory, frequent repetition of it. So they get into the memory of what are the 4 things I need to look for before replying to somebody online, before engaging with them online. So if it's dangerous, I need to stop, tell somebody, and I don't reply. If it's safe, I can reply to them. So the 4 criteria that we started out with, and this was all based off of, this can be changed. This was based off of what parents of the young adults I was working with wanted. So they didn't want strangers talking to their child. Didn't want it at all. They didn't want their child talking to strangers at all. So the first box says, if I don't know the person, I need to check it. If I do know the person, I don't need to check it. So that can be changed if you're dating online. When you're dating online, you can say, you might want to leave that one out because you probably do talk to strangers when you're dating online, but you might want to put something else about the stranger you talk about, or you might want to use the predator one that I'm developing or the scammer one that I'm developing. So that's a difference, but this is really a good one for starting out. Let's not talk to strangers. I don't talk to strangers online. They scare me, like personally, yes. So the first one is, I don't know the person. If I check it, I go on. The message is inappropriate. That's the second one. Big thing on this is you have to talk with each individual and yourself about what's inappropriate. I might decide, oh, seeing gory images online is inappropriate to me. I don't like blood and guts. That's inappropriate, gross, right? So if somebody sends me something like that, I'm going to mark it down. However, I had young adult males who played World of Warcraft. That didn't bother them. They wouldn't say that that would be something that bothers them. But they might say nudity bothers them or cursing is inappropriate. So they define themselves, what's inappropriate to them. So let's say I had a little girl where she said cursing's inappropriate. That's a thing. She would see curses words in the pictures or the images or the words, and she would mark it off. Other ones might not. The next one's the same way. What bothers you versus what bothers someone else? So curse words bothered the girl again, so she would mark it and go on. Last one is personal information, and it spells out there what is personal information. So they go through those. If one of those are checked, or more than one, but I would always say focus on if one is checked, because if one is, it's dangerous. So they go on to the go and they do it again. And if none are checked, they go on and use it, or they can reply. Yes, so that is in the Google folder. I loved using it. I did a little interview with the girls that I did this with, and they said some amazing things. The big thing about this is when I worked with the young adults on this, a lot of them only had to use it 5 times and they had it down. They had it memorized. These are the 4 things I need to look at, and they could go onto their Instagram and do it. And the reason I know that is because I would send them fake messages from my research accounts, and they would block and report me because they used my checklist in their head. But so it worked against me, but it was great. So that is, I mean, the girl said, I feel safe now. I know how to handle this, because I was scared to be online. You taught me about predators and I was terrified, but now I know what to do. So that's there for your use. And that works for everything: scams, posers, catfishers, predators, cyberbullies. All right. Oh man, I could talk about predators forever, but spotting predators, this I worked on with online dating, young adults and adults with IDD who are dating online. So I said, there's 3 things you can do to see if somebody's a predator. And I'm developing a visual checklist for this specific thing. So the 3 things are: look at the profile. I actually had a young adult with Down syndrome help me with this, because she was doing something with me once, and she's like, that could be a poser. And I'm like, huh? Tell me what a poser is. And so she's like, well, you want to know somebody's not a poser, you click on their picture and look at their profile. And I'm like, tell me more, because she was correct. So she actually came up with this one herself. She says, look at the profile, click on the picture. If nothing's there, they're probably a poser or a catfish or a predator. And I'll show you some examples of possible predators and posers that you can show. So they had nothing on their page. The next one was chatting with the person and asking them things. So she actually chatted with my research account and was like, hey, I see you like dogs. There's a dog on your picture or whatever. There's a dog, or do you like dogs? And I had dogs all over this research account. If I said no, She knew I wasn't who I said I was because there were dogs all over my picture. Why would I have dogs in my picture if I didn't like dogs, right? I mean, it was genius. All right, the last one is Google searching. This was another one she came up with. She would always go Google the person. And if nothing popped up with the person's picture, she knew this probably wasn't who they say they are. So again, I'm developing a visual checklist to make those 3 things easier. But if someone's dating online and they want to know for sure if somebody is a co-poser, catfisher, or a predator, those are the 3 things that they can try out. All right, here's another one. So I use actual predator messages in my work. You can find them through a bunch of news sources, but the Center for Missing and Exploited Children has tons of things you can use. Homeland Security has tons of websites too that have actual picture messages that predators have sent to people. So I show these and talk about them with people to show, oh, hey, look at this Jesse person. This Jesse here says it's a secret between only us. Is that a predator? Oh yeah, they said it was secret. So he probably is, I need to stop. He also says, take pictures without a t-shirt now. He's looking for nudity without really knowing me. So he's a predator. The other one says, go in your bedroom on your own. Let's play some games. You can't tell anyone else, okay, do you understand? Again, a secret. So I show these actual messages to say, look at this behavior. Again, they're secret. They're probably someone we shouldn't talk to. Here's some more. This is actually one that I created. And those templates that I gave you, I tried to make them look like actual social media messages. That you can have these out and you can say, let's talk about Sylvia here. She has a picture of a horse and not a person. And if I meet her in person, she's going to buy me something. Is that predator behavior? She's promising me something. She wants to meet me and I don't know her. So what do I think? So students that I worked with would use the visual checklist to identify if they would reply to that person. This Zeoob, Z-E-O-O-B website is the one I was talking about earlier. You can actually make it look like a chat from social media if you want to create things on paper to practice with. Or you can put it on slides, or you can use the templates I gave you that already have the messages in it. All right, so this is examples of what a poser or catfisher might look like. And you can take this and use it on your own, but when you're showing examples of what a poser or a catfisher would look like, it is always, they have either no profile picture, they have very few posts. So like Dove Creel here is actually my research account. I'm a poser because it's not actually me, and I have no posts. So that's a big one. The other one is this Seth Fedolin has been in the news as being a very popular catfisher and poser. He does both of them. And the reason that he's actually admitted that he is one, but he shows poser and catfisher behaviors by looking at the number of followers. So he has 73,000 followers, but he's only following 18 people. That right there is poser and catfisher behavior. They want lots and lots of followers, but they don't follow anyone themselves. Like even celebrities follow thousands of people, but posers and catfishers limit who they actually follow. They want all the followers, but no one follows them. Or I mean, nobody, they don't follow anybody. So that is a huge predator and catfisher and poser behavior there. So those are the main characteristics of what they look like online as posers and catfishers. Here is, I used my own accounts to create this a while ago. So when I was teaching a high school group about how to know if somebody's not a catfisher or a poser, I had them go and look me up. And then they looked me up on Instagram and Facebook. And then they went and Googled me. It was actually creepy seeing them do it in person, but things they found out about me was pretty fantastic. So they looked at this and they said, okay, on her Instagram, she has pictures of dogs everywhere. And we know that she actually has a dog because we know her in person and that she's obsessed with her dog. So yeah, that lines up right there already. She has 302 followers, but she's following 429 people. That's not poser behavior. She's following more people than that follow her. That's completely normal behavior. And then on Google, she comes up. We know she works at EKU. So, yep, she's a legit person. That's a picture of her. On Facebook, her posts are at EKU graduation. That lines up with what Google is telling me because EKU is there. And her Facebook profile says she works at EKU. So just looking at all of this stuff, I know she's a real person because more than one profile says the same thing. Predators, posers, and catfishers don't take the time to create similar profiles. It's too much work. They get shut down and have to do it all over again. So they mainly focus out of one and then move to another. So that's how they knew. I know if there's a poser or a catfisher, I can look her up on Facebook and Instagram. The two look alike. So she's probably the same person she says she is. The one thing about this, though, that's going to make it harder, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. You can push everything from Instagram to Facebook now. So that makes it a little easier for predators to create the same profiles on two different platforms. That's why I threw Google in there, because Instagram, you can do a little toggle and say push to Facebook, and Facebook will look exactly like your Instagram. So if you're using Facebook and Instagram to look people up, throw Google in there too, because you can push the same content from platform to platform on Instagram, Facebook, and now Threads. So Google, always Google someone. That's my rule. All right. How do we address it? We always address it by blocking and reporting. We need to block and report predators, catfishers, and posers. And I'll show you how you can teach that. Other thing is ask them to video chat with you and show you their face. If they don't show their face, if it looks like it's kind of cartoonish, I would say, because AI is creating kind of their faces, but it doesn't, there's a little bit of a difference between a real face and AI faces. But that's getting better every day. So I'm working on that. But yeah, ask to video chat. If they refuse to, we need to stop pursuing any kind of relationship. All right. The other big thing with predators is meeting in person. So back to Sarah's story. With Sarah, I really said, I understand you want a boyfriend. Everybody wants an intimate relationship and should have that in their life. So if you're meeting someone online in person, have a plan. And that plan should always be meet in public, go to a public restaurant, go to a movie theater, never ride with them, never get in the car with them until you have like dated for months and now you actually know each other. And then the other big one is have an escape plan. I always worked with young adult, young girls who, well, young adult girls who are in their 20s who were like, well, I'm dating, I'm meeting somebody, have an escape plan. So they would be like, what's my escape plan? And so they would always say, okay, I know somebody I can call and say, call me if something's happening. I can call them or they can call me with a code word to check in. They always got so creative with that. I was like, you know what, just know the SOS things on your phone, which is if you hit the button, side buttons on an iPhone for so many seconds, it will pull up SOS. And always have a charged phone. So develop a plan if you're going to meet in person. And if none of these are followed, at least tell somebody you're going. All right. So I would always work with them on how to develop a plan. This is a big one that I get all the time is, what if it's done in secret? And I had a story, somebody told me a story once about how a young adult went to a hotel to meet somebody she met online, and the person was there and did harm to her. And they were like, I wish I would have caught it. How do I know if it's happening? Because it was all secretive. And so there are warning signs. The biggest warning sign is if you're on a mobile device and someone walks in the room, they quickly switch to a different screen. They put their phone down so you can't see it. They're very, very secretive about what's on their phone, because they know if somebody sees it, they're going to get in trouble. So that's a big warning sign. If there's any kind of secret with a phone, there's something going on. The other big one is being withdrawing from others. So you're listening to the person, they're saying, keep me a secret, talk to me more than the people in your real life. So they tend to be more to themselves, keeping this a secret. The other big one that I've seen is suddenly talking about a new friend, suddenly talking about a boyfriend, and you don't know where this came from. That's another thing to pay attention to. Where's the new friend from? Where'd you meet them? Tell me more about them. So asking things about these new friends that appear that they talk about, if they start talking about somebody new. All right, so yeah. So that's a big warning sign to look for, to know if something's happening in secret. But hopefully all the other strategies will prevent that from happening. All right. It's 8 o'clock, so I'm going to skip over this. But what I do when I work with these fake messages and talk through them with people, I always show them again a last time and then say, okay, if you were Sarah or Teddy, what would you do? What should we tell them to do to keep themselves safe? What should Teddy do instead of sending a picture of him without clothes on? Yeah, he should probably block and report. What would happen if he did send those pictures? And how would that hurt him in the future? With Sarah, we could say, what if she actually met the person in real life and nobody knew about it? What could happen to her? What should she do instead of meeting with the person? Or what if this person was legit and she wanted to date them, but they said that? What would you do? How would you feel? Is that a real relationship? So talking through that stuff, these questions that I ask on each slide with these messages mirror how those conversations can happen. All right. And yeah, we'll skip that one too. So 801, we can talk about this quickly. Cyberbullies. So we're going to skip over Peggy. Big thing about Peggy, real life story again. Peggy was a young adult with autism, and somebody was telling her that if they told them if they did something, they would physically hurt them. So she started withdrawing and not talking to anybody and became fearful of even going out to the public because of this person. So we really had to work on her fear of going out in public because she was worried this person would find her and physically hurt her. So we really had to talk about emotions with this and what happens with cyberbulliers, because this was all sent online, and how she could address that and how she could prevent it from happening again. So a cyberbully, you probably know, is somebody that says mean things online, hurtful things, harmful things, spreads false information about people or organizations. So their intent is just to hurt people. So the message there that says, I hate you, cyberbully, right? Okay, so the big thing with cyberbully is everybody, it's not just individuals with IDD, everybody is afraid that something might happen if they tell somebody about it. There's a retribution that could happen. The person says, you tell somebody and I'm going to do this to you. So they're scared about that. They might be embarrassed that this is happening, so they don't want to talk about it. So when I teach about cyberbullying, I really have to enforce that there are consequences to cyberbullying. A person's banned from social media. It's against community guidelines, the terms and conditions we talked about the first time we met. It is against that to cyberbully. You violate those, you're sent to the Facebook jail, right? Or the Instagram jail for 10 days. You do it again, you're banned for life. So there are strict guidelines on social media. Facebook and Instagram will now, it catches some cyberbullying. If it notices, if the AI of Meta notices cyberbullying behavior, things will pop up or it will automatically flag it. Sometimes it doesn't catch it, but when hateful things are said, sometimes it will flag it. Some organizations have policies for cyberbullying. There might be a zero tolerance thing for cyberbullying. Workplaces could have that too. Extreme cases, there are fines. There's a show out there, I think it's called Plainville. I think it's about the woman who bullied her boyfriend so much online that he committed suicide. She actually faced jail for that. So there are now things that happen because of cyberbullying. So I always say, yes, they harmed you, but by reporting them, blocking them, we can now prevent them from doing it to others. And a lot of the young adults that I work with are like, yes, I don't want anybody else to experience this. Or if I even see it myself and it's not happening to me, I can go and block and report it so they stop doing it to the person they're doing it to. So yeah, that's the big thing with addressing cyberbullying is that blocking and reporting the biggest thing. The other big thing is to talk to somebody about it. There are tons of emotions that come with cyberbullying, and they have to be talked about. Sometimes therapists might have to come in. I had a case where somebody did have to go in and talk to a therapist about things that we uncovered when we were talking about cyberbullying once in a class. So sometimes that is needed. The emotions are real, and cyberbullying is a very scary thing. And it's very prevalent in today's society. You can go on the news channel and see people calling each other horrible things. So it's very, very real. So this is a visual that I have used for cyberbullying. Again, I'm creating a better one to go with cyberbullying. But when we talked about this picture, we talk about what's coming out of the computer and how the girl is feeling. She's facing away from everybody and her head's down. She looks like she could be sad and that she doesn't want to talk to anybody. There's broken heart coming out of the computer, an angry face, the little symbols used for curse words. So they know cyberbullying and things, people saying mean things that hurt others. And that person is hurt. So this picture explains what is the behavior of cyberbullying and what does it do to the person that is cyberbullied. All right. So we talked about all these strategies. They do work with cyberbullying too. That top 3 trusted network is huge for cyberbullying. Having somebody that you can go talk to if somebody is doing something to you, somebody you feel safe talking to and sharing this with. And won't go and tell somebody that is involved in this case and would result in something happening to you, because sometimes it's a person that's cyberbullying you. Not all the time. Most of the time, cyberbullying is from somebody so you have to really have the relationship with that top 3 trusted network individual that you feel safe talking to about that. All right. Again, here is a template that I shared with you, some of the cyberbullying game cards that I have used that we just read over and talk about. Is this a cyberbully? Is it not a cyberbully? What would you do if this happened to you? What kind of emotions might you feel and how can we work through those emotions if it happens? Yes, talking to somebody will help you. So you can talk through the different steps of identifying if it's a cyberbully and what to do if it does happen. You can also find real horrible cyberbullying messages online on cyberbullying. The government site for cyberbullying has tons of them. This is the visual checklist that I shared with you earlier does help with cyberbullying as well. Is it inappropriate? Does it bother me? Then we need to stop and talk to somebody. So it is targeted to help with cyberbullying identification and avoiding it. All right. Peggy, I shared a little bit about, but I really want to get to how to block and report. For Peggy, we really had to talk about her, knowing that a lot of cyberbully people say it behind the screen because they're too scared to do it in real life. They hide behind the screen, and that's why they do it online. So we really had to take people out with her in public that she trusted and that would watch out for her. And eventually she gained enough trust to go back out on her own. But we really had to work on that. She had to have some therapy sessions for it. But yes, she was one that did use the visual checklist after it, which made her feel safer. And was like, yep, now I know who's bullying. If somebody bullies me, what to do with it. All right, the big other thing with cyberbullying is sometimes we are the cyber bullies and we don't recognize it. It happens a lot. And one time I was in a fireside chat with, I think it was the Arc of Northern Virginia. I worked with their Person First network on what cyberbullying was, and we did it over Zoom. And we talked about if somebody says something mean to me and I say something mean back, am I the cyber bully? Am I a cyber bully too? And it was fun watching all of their little faces on the Zoom call because they all just kind of sat there like, oh, yeah, it's easy to say something mean back, but that would make me a cyber bully. That would make me the person doing the same thing. And so they were like, oh, because there was one little boy or one little guy on there that was like, oh, I would say something mean back. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about terms and conditions. And they realized, oh, I just block and report. I don't say anything back because that's protecting myself from violating the terms and conditions and from hurting somebody. So having that talk about, okay, what does cyberbullying look like if I do it? Everybody on the news channel says something and I say something mean back, I could be flagged as a cyberbully, and could get banned myself. All right. Scams, big one for that is using social media to gain something. Usually money. Scams are usually about money, but it can be other things. So scams are getting smarter every single day. Again, AI is coming up here. Artificial intelligence is making scams so much easier to fall for. I get things every day like, hey, look who died, click on this link. Or, hey, your message was, or your UPS package was sent back to the distribution center. Click here and put your personal information in. So every day, scams are getting smarter. But there are 4 things, and I have a nice little visual checklist coming for this one. 4 things to do to ask yourself to identify if it's a scam. And I did a lot of research to identify these 4 things. So the 4 things is the message is usually from some weird thing that you don't know. They disguise themselves as like club president at eku.net or something like that. It's weird addresses. So a lot of times it's from something you don't know. They have something misspelled in the address. It's just a weird address. The other thing is something is always misspelled in it. I get tons of emails on my work email from people in England that are giving me their COVID money. Sure, I'll take your $1 million, right? But everything is misspelled in those messages. It reads very weird. It sounds like it's written by a machine, but there's always something misspelled. It always asks for personal information. So my little England buddy that asked for my bank account so they could put my their COVID money into my account for me. They asked for my bank account information. It was personal information. And the other one is there a long link that goes to something that you don't know? Don't click on the link, but is there a long link for some kind of website that you've never heard of? If that is it, don't click on the link. It's usually a scam. And so I always say, ask yourself those 4 questions. If there's yes to at least 2 of them, it's a scam and we need to stop. So again, the visual checklist would help with this, the stop and go one. What's the other one with scams? Yeah, that's that one for scams. This is a picture that I've used for teaching scams. I'm developing a better one, but this is actually a phishing scam where the guy is fishing for things, PHISH, that kind of phishing, where they're just trying to steal data from you. But the scam, they have the credit card, the piggy bank, the money, the software data, all of that in that image that he's trying to take. So using visuals for scams is really good. The visual checklist, again, is really good. This is something that this was a really fun one to develop. I actually created that Gmail template myself. But they would look at this and say, free ticket club at vols.utk.edu. This was back when I was at the University of Tennessee. We don't know of anything called football tickets never come free there because they're in the SEC. So first, that's weird. And the other thing was that long link that said volsfreebasketballtickets.com. They would practice identifying scams like that on paper. All right. Shopping sites. That's something that came up when I worked with that person first group. And the thing with knowing if a shopping site is, they're getting smarter, but if a shopping site is a scam, a lot of times it won't have the little padlock on the shopping, the checkout section. So if you ever buy something from Instagram, a lot of times those don't have the padlock thing on it. It's not a secure checkout. So they're actually taking your information. So whenever you're buying something online, make sure that little padlock is up in that little barcode, or not barcode, the address bar. That will tell you if it's secure. Some people are getting really good at putting fake ones up there, but you know it's real. You can hover over it and it will say this is a secured site. So the padlock is really important in distinguishing between fake sites and online shopping sites. All right. Other big one. This is a good story. I worked with a young adult who I sent her a fake scam on a cruise ship, free cruise tickets to the Bahamas. And she went through, used the checklist, but still clicked on the link to the cruise. And I stopped her and I was like, no, don't click on that link, but it was too late. And I was like, why'd you click on that link? And she's like, thankfully it was something fake that I had created, so it didn't cause harm. But she said, I want the cruise. I knew it was a scam, but I still want the cruise. So I took the chance. So we really have to consider the desire we have for the $3 Stanley Cup or the $5 tickets to Taylor Swift, because lots of people fell for those scams. So we have to really put that desire aside and think through before we do that checkout. So that's how we can stop scams with that. Okay. Yes. Last 15 minutes, I get to do this part. Okay. So teaching about blocking and reporting is incredibly important. And I'm going to switch over to my phone if it will let me again. So okay. So on the top 5, on the rest of the slides, I have step-by-step directions on how to do blocking and reporting, but I'm going to walk you through it. Okay. There we go. I think it's going. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to show you. And again, this is on your, oh, it stopped my screen share. Hold on. This is on each slide. I love it when I see my face on 2 different devices. Okay. So blocking and reporting. I lost my control bar. Hold on. Okay. I think I'm driving. All right, well, on the slides, there we go. I had to go out and come back in. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, so on most sites, you will look for 3 little dots. I'm going to get my picture out of there. Okay, 3 little dots for blocking and reporting. So this is YouTube, the #1 used platform. If somebody sees something inappropriate on YouTube or somebody sends them a video that's inappropriate, if you find these 3 little dots, so over on the right-hand corner underneath the American Idol or America's Got Talent video here, there's 3 little dots. If you click on those, you get this. And so what you would do is go down to report. This comes up and you would click what it is. So is it sexual content? Is it violent? Is it hateful, harmful, spam, child abuse? So if you click on it and then you click that report, it might ask you follow-up questions. I'm not going to report this poor person because then they'll be like, why'd somebody report me? But that's as easy as it is. So you click on those 3 dots, go to report, and then you would hit the kind of violation that it is. A lot of young adults that I've worked with always go towards that hateful or abusive because it bothers them. And some might do spam if it is a spam. So that's YouTube, pretty easy. If you want to block an actual person on YouTube, you have to have an account and it's a lot harder to do, but you can go into the person's profile and you might have to go through help and feedback to report them. I'm not following them, so that's probably another reason I can't report them. So not so much blocking access on YouTube. It's a lot harder to block, but easy to report. Okay, Facebook. Oh, it took away my car dealership. Okay, we're going to go to Ridgedale Farmers Market here. And we're going to go and click on the 3 dots at the top, right? The right-hand top of that post for Ridgedale Farmers Market. All right. On this, there's a lot of different things you can do. So if this bothered me, I could say show less, don't show me Ridgedale anymore. But I can go to report photo. This comes up. And so it says, oh, report something that doesn't look right. It could be misinformation. It could be cyberbullying or whatever it is. So you can go down and you can just hit submit report and not say anything else. Facebook will investigate it, or you can go to add information and hit any kind of thing it is. You can even do false information and you can go and do some more. So you can tell them what it is, or you can just go and submit it and they will investigate themselves. But I'm not going to submit these people for blocking and reporting them. So that's how you report them. If you want to block a user, go to their profile. Again, the 3 dots by the follow bar will have that block or report option at the very top. So always look for the 3 dots. All of the young adults have ever taught about this. They would always say, look for 3 dots. If anything, look for 3 dots, because that's how we can block and report, those 3 dots there. Okay, Instagram, same exact thing. I'm going to block and report my dog here. So here's my dog's profile. If I say, oh, this right here is a cyberbullying scam or a scam, I go to those 3 dots again at the top right, and I can go to report, and I can say, I just don't like it. You can do that, and it will say, okay, we won't show you those things anymore. And then it will tell you, okay, you don't like it, you can block Ted Stir the Palm, or you can restrict him, or you can unfollow him. So Instagram has a little more options for blocking. But again, 3 dots. Oh, I just reported my dog. Oops. If you want to block him, you just go to the 3 dots again at the very top right. You hit block, restrict, or report. Restrict is really cool on Instagram because it restricts what you see or what they see. Okay. So 3 dots on YouTube, 3 dots on Facebook, 3 dots on Instagram. The other ones get really more complicated. So let's go to Snapchat. All right, Snapchat is the one where you need to block and report fast, because if predators send you something, they can limit it to 5 seconds. So on the slides, I have that shake to enable, shake to report, and how to do that in the settings. We talked about it last time, but I can get a snap sent to me and I can just shake my phone and it will report it. Or let's say I want to block somebody. So I go to my little profile thing here, go down to my friends list, and let's say I want to block Team Snapchat. You have to press and hold for about a second for this to come up. So it's a little harder. Then you go to your manage friendship and you can block them there, or you can remove them as a friend. But I always say if it's predator or scammer, block them. So I can go to block and I'll say, okay, Team Snapchat's blocked. They can't contact you anymore. But the great thing about Snapchat, if somebody sent me a snap right now and I don't want to see it, I could just shake my phone and it will report it. So TikTok, you would actually hold the screen, the video, just tap it and hold for a second like Snapchat, and you can report and block like through that. Just tap and hold. The directions are on the slides. I'm not going to get myself into more trouble with bad words. So if you look through the slides that I give you, it will have the directions on how to block and report on each profile, on each platform. So there's TikTok. You hold, tap, and hold on the screen, select report, and then the reason you're reporting. So very simple, 3 dots or tap and hold. That's what you got to do for blocking and reporting. All right. Monitoring is the last thing I really want to chat about today in my last 4 minutes. Monitoring. I have worked with tons of families, caretakers, direct support professionals, and young adults and adults with IDD. And I have seen tons of different kind of monitoring happening. And I've seen it on kind of a spectrum where it's 24/7 monitoring. I'm on your account. I can see what you do. I can see everything sent to you. To there's no monitoring on this side. And in the middle, there is monitoring through the platform's family center. And that tends to be the more acceptable use of monitoring, because you can still, you can't control what's happening, but it will notify you if there's dangerous things happening that you should be used to, or you should be aware of. So the family center is a great thing, and Facebook, YouTube, all of the big 5 have it. We talked about that with privacy settings. But the other monitoring, if you're not in the family center, I've worked with a lot of families that have friends, be friends with their child online and look out for things that are happening. And I've had ones where the parents have an open rule and they say, all right, sometimes I'm going to come up to you and say, can I see your phone? You have to give me your phone. So I've seen that be successful too, with just this open rule that they trust me online and I will show them what happens online. But I have seen a few things with that throws that for a loop. I've had a few that I've worked with that have created fake accounts that they're on and the dangerous things happen on, but when they show it to their parents or their family, they get on their real account. So they hide what's happening between other profiles. And then I've also seen it where they delete things before they show it to them. So monitoring can be a very, very sensitive thing because we want to allow for independence. The easiest way to monitor is through those family centers that are on the platforms themselves, because they will watch out for their safety and allow for independence. Thank you for coming. I so appreciate you being here for this very important topic. And I will see you next week for our last session.